Do you ever wish your life could be like a movie? Like with this triumphant soundtrack playing in the background through all the hard times so that you know they're just a montage leading up to the good stuff. Well, our character in this story has a very similar desire. In this story, a young immigrant from Mexico wrestles with the desire for her life to be like her favorite Spanish soap operas. But instead, she has to grapple with the harsh reality that life is not always having happy endings. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Woman Hollering Creek by Sandra Cisneros. The day Don Serafin gave Juan Pedro Martinez Sanchez permission to take me, Cleofilas Enriqueta de Leon Hernandez, as his bride across my father's threshold, over several miles of dirt road and several miles of paved, over one border and beyond to a town en el otro lado, on the other side. Already did he divine the morning I would raise my hand to my eyes, look south, and dream of returning to the chores that never ended, 6 good-for-nothing brothers, and 1 old man's complaints. He had said, after all, in the hubbub of parting, "I am your father. I will never abandon you." He had said that, hadn't he, when he hugged me and then let me go? But at that moment I was busy looking for Kayla, my maid of honor, to fulfill our bouquet conspiracy. I did not remember my father's parting words until later. "I am your father. I will never abandon you." Only now as a mother do I remember. Now when I and Juan Pedrito sat by the creek's edge, how when a man and a woman love each other, sometimes that love sours. But a parent's love for her child and a child for its parents is another thing entirely. This is what I thought evenings when Juan Pedro did not come home. And I lay on my side of the bed listening to the hollow roar of the interstate, a distant dog barking, the pecan trees rustling like ladies in petticoats, shh, 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 soothing me to sleep. The first time, I'd been so surprised that I didn't cry out or try to defend myself. I'd always said that I would strike back if any man were to strike me. When the moment came, and he slapped me once, and again, until my lips split and bled an orchid of blood, I didn't fight back. I didn't break into tears. I didn't run away, as I imagined I might when I saw these things on the telenovelas. In my own home, my parents had never raised a hand to each other or their children. Although I admit I may have been brought up a little leniently as an only daughter, la consentina, the princess, there are still some things I would never tolerate. Ever. Instead, when it happened to me the first time, when we were barely man and wife, I had been so stunned, it left me speechless, motionless, numb. I did nothing but reach up to the heat on my cheek and stare at the blood, as if even then I didn't understand. I could say nothing. I said nothing. I just stroked the dark curls of the man who wept and would weep, his tears of repentance and shame, this time in each. In the morning sometimes, before he opened his eyes, or at the times when he simply sat across from the table, putting pieces of food in his mouth and chewing, I think, this is the man I have waited my whole life for. Not that he isn't a good man. I have to remind myself why I love him when I change the baby's pampers, or when I mop the bathroom floor, or when I try to make curtains for the doorways with no doors, or whiten the linen, or wonder a little when he kicks the refrigerator and says he hates this house and is going out where he won't be bothered by the babies howling and your suspicious questions and your request to fix this and this and this, because if you had any brains in your head, you'd realize I've been up since before the rooster, earning my pay for the food in your belly and the roof over your head, and would have to wake up early the next morning. So why can't you just leave me in peace, woman? Sometimes I think of my father's house. How could I go back there? What a disgrace. What would the neighbors say? Coming home like that with one baby on my hip and one in the oven. Where's your husband? He had thrown a book, mine, from across the room. A hot welt across my cheek. I could forgive that, but what stung more is that it was my book. A love story from Corintellado. What I loved most now that I live in the U.S. without televisión, without telenovelas. Except now and again, when my husband was away, I could manage it. A few episodes glimpsed at the neighbor lady Soledad's house, before Dolores didn't care for that sort of thing, though Soledad was often kind enough to retell what had happened on what episode of Maria de Nadie. The poor Argentine country girl who had the ill fortune of falling in love with the beautiful son of the Aracha family. The very family she worked for, whose roof she slept under and whose floors she vacuumed, while at the same time, with the dust brooms and the floor cleaners as witnesses, the square-jawed Juan Carlos Arocha had uttered words of love. I love you, Maria. Listen to me, mi querida. But it was she who had to say, no, no, we are not of the same class, and remind him that it was not her place nor hers to fall in love, all the while her heart was breaking. Can you imagine? I thought my life would be like that, like a telenovela. Now, only episodes get sadder and sadder, and there are no commercials in between with comic relief, and no happy ending in sight. I thought this when I sat with the baby out by the creek behind the house. Cleofilas Day. But somehow I would have to change my name to Topazia or Yesenia, Cristal, Adriana, Stefania, Andrea. Something more poetic than Cleofilas. Everything happened to women with names like Jules, but what happened to Cleofilas? Nothing, but a crack in the face. Because the doctor had said so, I have to go to make sure the new baby is all right, so there won't be any problems when he's born. And the appointment card says next Tuesday. Could he please take me, please? And that's all. No, I won't mention it, I promise. If the doctor asks, I can say I fell down the front steps or I slipped when I was in the backyard. Slipped out back, I can tell them that. I have to go back next Tuesday, Juan Pedro, please, for the new baby, for our child. I could write to my father and ask maybe for money, just a loan, for the baby's medical expenses. Well, then, if you'd rather I didn't, I'll write I won't. Please don't anymore, please don't. I know it's difficult saving money with all the bills we have, the rent, and the food, and electricity, and the gas, and water, and who knows what. Well, there's hardly anything left. But please, at least for the doctor's visit, I won't ask anything else. I have to. Why am I so anxious? Because I'm going to make sure the baby is not turned backwards this time to split me down the center. Yes, next Tuesday at 5:30, I'll have Juan Pedrito dressed and ready. But these are the only shoes he has. I'll polish them and we'll be ready. As soon as you come home from work, we'll be ready. We won't make you ashamed. Felice, it's me, Graciela. No, I can't talk louder, I'm at work. Look, I need kind of a favor. There's this patient, a lady here, who's got a problem. Well, wait a minute, are you listening? I can't talk real loud because her husband's in the next room. Well, would you just listen? I was gonna do a sonogram on her. She's pregnant, right? And she just starts crying on me. Híjole, Felice, this poor lady's got black and blue marks all over. I'm not kidding. From her husband, who else? Another one of those brides from across the border. And all her family's in Mexico. You think they're gonna help her? Give me a break. This lady doesn't even speak English. She hasn't been allowed to call home or write or nothing. That's why I'm calling you. She needs a ride. Not to Mexico, you goof, just to the Greyhound in San Anto. No, just a ride. She's got all her own money. All you'd have to do is drop her off in San Antonio on your way home. Come on, Felice, please. If we don't help her, who will? I drive her myself, but she needs to be on the bus before her husband gets home from work. What do you say? I don't know. Wait. Right away. Tomorrow even. Well, if tomorrow's no good for you, it's a date, Felice. Thursday, at the cash and carry off I-10. Noon. She'll be ready. Oh, and her name's Cleofilas. I don't know, one of those Mexican saints, I guess. A martyr or something. Cleofilas. 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 Write it down. Thanks, Felice. When her kid's born, she'll have to name her after us, right? Yeah, you got it. A regular soap opera sometimes. Que vida, comrade. Bueno, bye. All morning, the half fear and half doubt. At any moment, Juan Pedro might appear in the doorway, or on the street, at the cash and carry. Like in the dreams I have dreamed. There was this to think about, yes, but until the woman in the pickup drove up. Then there wasn't time to think about anything, but the pickup pointed towards San Antonio. Put your bags in the back and get in. But when we drove across the Arreo, the driver opened her mouth and let out a yell as loud as a mariachi. Ay! Which startled not only me, but Juan Pedrito as well. Pues, look, how cute. I scared you too, right? Sorry, I should have warned ya. Every time I cross that bridge, I do that. Because of the name, you know. Woman Hollering Creek. Pues, I holler. She said this in a Spanish packed with English, and I laughed. Did you ever notice how nothing around here is named after a woman? Really, unless she's the Virgin. I guess you're only famous if you're a virgin. So, that's why I like the name of that Arreo. Makes you want to holler like Tarzan, right? Everything this woman said, this Felice, amazed me. The fact that she drove a pickup? A pickup, mind you. But when I asked her if it was her husband, she said she did not have a husband. The pickup was hers. She herself had chosen it, and she herself was paying for it. I used to have a Pontiac Sunbird, but those cars are for viejas. Now this here is a real car. What kind of talk was that coming from a woman? But then again, Felice was like no woman I'd ever met. Can you imagine when we crossed the Arreo, she just started yelling like a crazy. Just like that. Who would have thought? Who would have? Pain or rage perhaps, but not a hoot like the one Felice had let go. Makes you want to holler like Tarzan, she had said. Then Felice began laughing again. But it wasn't Felice laughing. It was a gurgling coming out of my own throat. A ribbon of laughter, like water.